Slide moving? Please confirm. Is my screen visible to everyone? Thank you. So, QI, Quality and Accreditation Institute, is India's second largest accreditation body. As per the number of standards which we have developed in total QI journey. So, QI founder and CEO is Dr. Bhupender Kumar Rana. He's having more than 25 years of experience into quality, standard development, accreditation, and patient safety. He is earlier associated with the NAPH as a former director and CEO in charge, the vertical of Quality Council of India, where his visionary leadership transformed the healthcare quality framework in the country. He's founding member of International Academy of Quality and Safety (IAQS), also member of the Scientific Advisory Board, International Alliance of Patient Organization (IAPO). He's vice chair of Mutual Recognition Arrangement (MRA), Council of Asia Pacific Accreditation Corporation (APEC), former board member and chairman of the Accreditation Council of International Society for Quality in Healthcare (ISQA), international expert of World Health Organization (WHO), the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change (UNFCCC). So this is all about our founder and CEO. So as I earlier mentioned, we are the second largest accreditation body in India, having a vision to nurturing the largest global pool of organizations and people through quality improvement and accreditation framework. We have some values. We are good listeners. We always seek continuous feedback from the stakeholders. So whatever you people have query, we always try to address your concerns. So we are competitive. We look for viable options to benefit users of our services. And QIS has adopted transparency because whatever the policies are made by QI, they all are available on public domain, which is on our website, qi.org.in. We are innovative. We continuously evolve using co-design and co-creations. Innovation in terms of the number of standard which we have developed in healthcare. So as per the requirement of the healthcare facility, we have developed more than 22 number of standards. KI having a mission to conceive and deliver education, training, accreditation, and related program in partnership with various stakeholders using an approach of co-design and co-creations. So QI started its operation in August 2017 with the global recognition from APEC and ILAC for the medical testing as per the ISO 15189 and testing and calibration as per the ISO IC 17025. So let's talk about QS structure. We have four verticals: Center for Education and Training, under which we do offer various kind of training as per the different standard, whether it could be ISO standard or other healthcare standard. Then we have CHSC, Center for Accreditation of Health and Social Care, under which we offer accreditation for the healthcare service provider. Then CIA, Center for International Accreditation, formerly known as the Center for Laboratory Accreditation, under which we do offer accreditation as per the ISO standard, whether it could be ISO 15189, 17025, and other ISO standard. Then we have CAVO, Center for Accreditation of Veterinary Facilities, under which we do offer accreditation for the veterinary service provider. So let's thoroughly go about our program, CIA, Center for International Accreditation. So we do offer accreditation for the medical laboratories as per the ISO 15189 standard. We also do offer certification for medical laboratories as per the requirement of Central Clinical Establishment Act. We do offer accreditation for the testing and calibration laboratories as per the ISO IC 17025 standard. We become first accreditation body in India, those who offer accreditation for the biobanking as per the ISO 20387 standard. We also do offer accreditation for the preference testing provider as per the ISO IC 17043 standard. We also do offer accreditation for the inspection bodies as per the ISO IC 17020 standard. We also do offer accreditation for the reference material producer as per the ISO 17034 standard. So for CIA program, we have an international recognition. CIA is a full member MRA signatory of Asia Pacific Accreditation Corporation APEC. We are also full member MRA signatory of International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation ILAC. APEC and ILAC, these are the global body. Those recognize any of the accreditation body in the world. So our CIE program is accepted by BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard. If you visit BIS website, they have clearly mentioned all the accreditation body in India on their official website. We also KA program is also accepted by Eastern Railway, Central Public Health Department, Director General of Quality Assurance, Power Finance Corporation, Coal India Limited, Legal Metrology Department of Consumer Affairs, National Highway Authority of India, Military Engineering Services, Power Grid Corporation of India, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Rights Limited, Public World Department, MP Government, BHEL Bhopal, Directorate Urban Administration and Development, MP Bhopal, and National Building Construction Corporation. So let's thoroughly go about our another vertical, CHSC. So under which we do for accreditation program for hospital, art and IVF centers, ambulatory care, emergency department, home care, vision center, clinic, stroke center, patient safety WHO, dental, dialysis, transition care, medical transport organizations, hair transplant, headache clinic, telehealth, BMT, green healthcare facility, and homestays. So for these programs, we have developed our own standards, and we also do for accreditation as per the ISO 711. So we have adopted it as a 711 plus, QI 711 plus. So this is a newly healthcare standard which are developed by ISO. So we become the first accreditation body in India to achieve ISCO accreditation in less than 5 years of operations. And our two standard are accredited by ISCO. So our CHSC program is recognized by Minister of Health, Central Government Health Scheme, which is CGHS for empowerment of private hospital, eye centers, dental centers, and imaging centers. So we also are institutional member of International Society for Quality in Healthcare, and also member for International Society for Telemedicine and e-health. This is a QI accreditation mark, which we offer to any of the healthcare or testing laboratories. Those will complete QI accreditation process. So we have a global presence. We are not only limited to India. We have given accreditation to these countries. We have presence in Bahrain, Bangladesh, Ghana, Maldives, Mongolia, Morocco, Myanmar, Nepal, Qatar, Lebanon, Bhutan, and UAE. So let's talk about our today's speaker. We have a very prominent speaker, Dr. Rabindranath Bansal. Bansal having a healthcare main experience into the healthcare quality and accreditation. He has been associated with various organizations like Fortis, Apollo Hospital, and his expertise in system development, systematic approach, strategic planning, and innovative solutions. So his special interest in healthcare quality, certification, and accreditation. He is actively involved in fostering professional training in healthcare quality at national levels on topic like ISO 15189, laboratory and hospital accreditation, ISO 711, and cause and research methodology. He has trained more than 1,200 professionals on quality standard and accreditation, and he has earlier a collaboration with CDC and IO. So on academic front, he has been very active in contributing chapter in books, publication in international journals, and has been providing training on healthcare management on postgraduate studies. His first book was published during the internship itself and have a turnover of thousands of copies every year. So thank you. This is all about our today's speaker. So I welcome Dr. Bansal sir to take further. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Manishji, for elaborate introduction, and good afternoon to all the participants. So without wasting time, I think let's proceed to the session. Great. Oh, yes. Let me organize my screen.
It's visible, sir.
Visible. Thank you. Okay, so we'll keep the Q&A for the end of the session, and you could always keep posting your questions in the chat box, and then we can take them in the last. Right, Manishi? Okay. So we're talking about ISO 15189. There is a clause on which is related to competency. International standard ISO 15189. If you see the name of the standard itself says it's requirements for quality and competence. So the stress from the very beginning, the standard talks about competence of the labs to produce valid results. With respect to competency and training, the standard says that we need to have competent and adequately trained personnel. Why? To ensure that we are able to, the lab is able to produce accurate, reliable, and timely lab results, which in turn are going to safeguard the patient results, patient care. Now, this is the competency, the adequate trainee, safeguarding the patient result will result in meeting your requirements of ISO 15189. Whatever, if you say we've got the most sophisticated equipment, we've got the most automated equipment, they're all useless unless the lab gets into developing the competencies of the staff to operate those best of the equipment and to interpret the results or the values generated by your analyzers. So with the best of the analyzers, in addition, what you need is the competencies in your team. How does competency affect? The competency impacts the accuracy, the reliability, and the traceability of the test results. It the competencies helps us, the competency of your team helps minimize analytical errors, diagnostic risks, ensures consistency in pre-examination, examination, and post-examination processes to ensure negligible variation. What are the benefits? The benefits is risk reduction and error prevention. How? The competent people will work and have minimal non-conformities due to improper handling or interpretation because the staff is competent. Competency helps ensure correct use of equipment, correct use of reagents, and as per the defined SOPs. Competency strengthens effectiveness of your corrective and preventive action. It also helps you add to operational efficiency and continual improvement. How it helps you improve productivity and workflow efficiency. You do not have to do repeats. There are no non-conformities. You can achieve your turnaround times. Competencies will help you implement newer technology and newer methods. If your team is competent, you can always go on to improve yourselves, adopt new and new technologies, newer methods. Competency development encourages a culture of competence, a culture of accountability, and continual improvement. How does it help us legally, ethically, and a professional responsibility? If we focus on the competencies of staff, if we have documented information on the competency of the staffs, it protects us from the medical legal risk. One, we always say we as staff is competent. Two, we do not get into a situation where a medical legal risk arises. It ensures ethical conduct and professional practice among your staff. It builds the confidence of your clinicians, your patients, your regulators in your lab to the extent that someone says, oh, that lab is a problem. No, that confidence will speak. No, they maintain a very high competency levels. They maintain a very high standards. Unlikely. Definition. As per 15189, clause 3.5 says, competency is demonstrated ability to apply knowledge and skills to achieve intended results. We need to be very clear that there are a couple of terms which should not be interrelated. One is your knowledge, then you have your skills. Together, you come to prove your competency. That's very important. Let's not confuse knowledge and skills into competencies. The terms are different. Another ISO standard 10015 says that competency is application of knowledge, skills, and behaviors in performance of an activity. So competency comes by virtue of your knowledge. Competency includes your skill. Competency includes your behavior. On the other hand, training is defined as a process to provide and develop knowledge, skills, and behavior. So we need to train our staff to develop knowledge. We need to train them to acquire skills. We need to train them to develop behaviors which direct them towards developing their competency. A couple of terms, a hard truth which we need to know. Just because a person holds a degree does not mean that the person has practical knowledge of how your lab works, what your lab SOPs are. Just because a person has experience in another laboratory, that doesn't mean that the person knows the SOPs in your lab. Just because the person has read your lab SOPs, that doesn't mean that the person has understood those SOPs. Just because the person had demonstrated competency in the past does not mean that the person continues to perform as defined. So we should not go by either of these that, okay, this is assumed. No, there is nothing assumed. It all has to be demonstrated. To comply with your 15189 in clause 6.2, it is mandatory. Competency is mandatory as per clause 6.2. Personal. What it says, the lab needs to demonstrate laboratories' technical competence to produce reliable results. It is essential. Why you need to go for 15189? If you want accreditation, you need to go for developing competencies within your team. When you have surveillance visit, they will come and look at your competency. When you have reassessments, the NABL people will come and look at your competencies. The first clause which talks about competency is your lab director's competence. Competence starts from the top. It says that the lab shall be directed by a person or persons with specified qualifications, competency, delegated authority, responsibility. The purpose is this competency is to fulfill the requirements of this document. So it starts with the lab director, not just every lab is personal. Whomsoever is the lab director should should have the competency to drive the lab as per 15189 requirements. 5.2.3 says that the lab director could delegate a couple of responsibilities. They could delegate the lab responsibilities, but delegate to whom? Delegate to only those who are qualified and found to be competent in your lab to perform the task which the lab director intends to delegate. Other clauses which talk about competency, clause 6.2, 6.2.1, 6.2.2, 2.3, 2.4, they all talk about competency. They relate to the competencies of your lab team. 6.2.1 says, the lab shall have sufficient number of competent staff to perform the activities. Which activities? All the activities you perform in the staff. Specifically, the competency talks about those activities which affect the quality of your results. Competence requirements. The lab shall specify. Specify what? The competency requirements. Requirements for whose, what competency requirement? For each function that influences the result of the lab. So any function that can influence the result of the lab, we need to specify competence for each such function. Now, this competency, when you say some person is competent, before that, the person needs to have adequate education, qualification. The person needs to have demonstrated training to achieve that competency, retrainings, the technical knowledge, skills, experience, which all together will translate to a competency of a person. We cannot say, okay, qualification is not there, but the person has been found to be competent. Has no relevance. The person was not trained but found to be competent. No, you need to have a training record also. The person was competent yesterday, so it means the person is competent today again. No, there needs to be retraining, there needs to be reassessments. The lab shall ensure that all the personnel who are working in the lab have competency for each activity they perform. Whatever activity I perform, I need to have a competency. I need to have a proven, demonstrated competency to be authorized to perform that activity. Lab shall have processes. A clause which is usually overread, it says we need to have processes. Processes for what? Processes for managing competence. Not just processes, your testing processes, not just your SOPs to perform activities. We also need to have processes to manage competencies. We'll see in the subsequently slides what all needs to be managed. That also includes the requirements for frequency of competency assessment. So managing is what? Initial competency, ongoing competency. How frequently are you going to reassess the competencies? The lab shall have documented information. Now, this competency cannot be in air. The competency has to be in paper. The competency documentation should be in a manner that they demonstrate the competency of each and every personnel working in the lab, specifically those effective activities which influence your lab result. How do you assess competency? As per 15189, you assess competency. Directly observe the person doing an activity. Not what I think. Observe a person performing an activity as per your SOPs. Other way of assessing competency is monitoring how the person records or reports the examination results. Another way of assessing competency is review of the work records, whether the person is able to maintain the records as required. Other strategy is to assess the problem solving skills. The problems will come, NCs will come. How the person takes those problems, how the person finds a solution is another way of competency. Then accordingly, you give the authorization. The other could be you give a previously tested sample to this person and tell him to test. If the person, if the result produces is reproducible, then we say, okay, the person has competency. After competency, once a person has been found to be competent, demonstrated competence, then we give a person specific authorizations to perform that activity. 625 says records to be maintained. What records? Initial, we need to maintain records determining the competencies of initial competency. The first time the person was given an authorization, we need to have records to which demonstrate, okay, the person had required competencies. A person might get the position changed. The person was technician, then becomes a senior technician, then becomes a head technician. Now, based upon the position description, the job description will change. Based upon the job description, we need to have their reassessment for their designated competencies. After you have a change, we also need to maintain records for trainings and retrainings that led to the development of competency, and based upon the competency, the records of authorizations assigned to that person. Further, very important, which gets overlooked, is monitoring of competency of the personnel. That means reassessment of the competencies. Look at 644. It says that the equipment, your activities, processes shall be performed by trained, authorized, and competent people. So, any person who is doing any activity or operating an analyzer needs to have respective competency. Verification of results. Again, it says personnel with appropriate authorizations. Authorizations based upon competency shall review the verification of results. So those who are allowed to verify the examination methods, again, the people need to have the respective competency. Now look at how competency is developed. We got a small child. The small child is told how to do what precautions to be taken, how what is to be done, where is the brake, where is the pedal, how it moves. So the small kid is given a knowledge. After the knowledge, the kid is guided, the hand holding is done with the kid to help him learn. Then, once you see the person can perform, that the person is observed. The child is not left independently. The child is observed under close supervision, but not allowed to go anywhere. Then, once you find that the child has now can do it correctly, can be given on its own, then the child is given independence. What we say, child is competent. Now, competent. What comes after? Gradually, eventually, after competency, something hazardous comes is your overconfidence. Eventually, over the period, we might gain overconfidence and might divert from our SOPs. To ensure we continue to be as per SOPs, we need to go in for reassessments and monitoring whether each and every member continues to follow the competencies. Stages of competencies. First stage, you get a degree. Wow, I got a degree. I know everything on this earth. I can do anything on this earth. And this is a stage of unconscious incompetence. I am not aware of the incompetence I have. I might have questionable skills. I might have questionable proficiency. I have been trained in some college with some type of analyzers or something, but when I'm going to work, the situation is going to be entirely different, could be entirely different. Then you get a job. When you get into the job, you realize, oh, there are so many things I don't know. I do not have the competencies to run an auto analyzer. I do not have other competencies. You realize, oh, there are certain problems I need to learn. Then you get training. Once you get training, the training helps you build your competencies. You are made competent by training, by observation, by hand holding, repeated trainings. You become competent, but at this stage, you need to apply extra effort, extra mind every time to work as per your defined SOPs. You keep working as per your SOPs, you keep demonstrating your competence, you keep performing that activity again and again as per your SOPs in the right manner, and eventually you reach the stage of bliss where you work your hands, your coordination. In the absence of mind, also you operate, you perform the activities in a competent manner, which is where you get into a auto mode. And then eventually it is has to be also followed by monitoring. Now let's see what happens, how this competency thing works. Assume we got a job to do. Who will do my job? We need to hire a person. Okay, we have hired a person for a particular task. Now this hiring is based upon your qualification of a staff. We cannot allow an unqualified person do whatever cannot be considered competent. So the qualification is important when you hire. You might have additional experience requirement when you hire a person. Okay. So based upon the qualification and experience, a person is recruited. What happens next? The person is given induction training. Induction training is for organizational policies, safety at work. The person is given induction training, how to ensure personal safety, how to ensure safety other persons, what are your job entitlements, rights, responsibilities, organizational policies. Then the person is given training. Training for the assigned job. The person is hired for 10 activities, so the person is given training for those assigned jobs. Now, after the training, what we do, we assess this person for the knowledge, whether the person has gained adequate knowledge, whether the person has read and understood the SOPs. Then we observe this person performing the activities under supervision, whether this person can uh, whether this person can do that activity as per SOPs. Then we allow the person to do hands-on. Tell him, let's say, give an old sample, tell him to perform the testing. Now, these together, once a person demonstrates that the person can do as per SOPs, we say the person is now competent. Okay, the person has become competent. Now, based upon the competence, the person is given authorization to perform various activities. The person might have 4 competencies and is authorized for 3 activities. After authorization comes a phase for reassessment. Whether the person continues to perform activities as per the assigned task. Now, where comes your training? Where is your training coming in? When do you train? So, let's say you hire a person. First, the person has to gain the knowledge of your SOPs. To make the person read the SOPs, assess the person. If the person is found to know the SOPs, fine, you train the person, you assess the person, you assess the knowledge, you train the person. Once you think the person has read and understood the SOPs, then you make that person acquire the skills by performing the activities under supervision. So you train that person, you assess that person, and the cycle continues till you find that the person is now competent. So once the person becomes competent, the person gets your authorization. But then after competence, again, the person is assessed. If the person continues to form, very good. Competence gets into authorization. If we find the person has lost the authorization, then the person goes back to your training, where the person is trained again. Competence is withdrawn, authorization is withdrawn, undergoes training again, found to be competent again, and given authorization again. Knowledge. What knowledge do we give a person, a new hiree? What knowledge do we give? We give the person the knowledge how to perform the activities safely. What is the general code of conduct within your lab, within your hospital? How do you operate computers, the digital systems, your LIS? How does your quality management system runs? Introduction to your quality manual, the vision, the mission, the objectives of the organization, respective policies and procedures with respect to the department to which the person is supposed to be assigned. Then the person is to be given the knowledge of job description, the job the person is intended to be assigned. The person is given knowledge on the SOPs. The person is given the knowledge on do's and don'ts, record keeping, and a reporting of the results. These are the knowledge which you give to a person. Now, understand, just because you've given the knowledge, just because you've given the SOPs to the person to read, doesn't mean the person has understood. We need to be very sure that the person has understood, read the SOPs, and now ready to be given training hands on. Then you give a training to the person. Now, training will include your induction training, technical training, training on QMS, training on safety gadgets, fire extinguisher, PPE, how to use your PPE, how to you handle biomedical waste. So all those trainings you give. Then you give training when you want to implement a change. You have revised your SOP, you give a training. You have changed something on your analyzer, you give a training. You bought a new analyzer, you give a training. When you identify training needs based upon your MCs, based upon your corrective action, you might identify training needs. The person is again giving training. And as a part of your continuous education program, the person is again given training. How frequently? When do you assess a person? We assess a person for knowledge. Initially, the person was supposed to read the SOPs and understood. So we assess the person for a knowledge. We assess by taking a written exam. We might take a S Viva. Then we allow the person to perform activity under observation. Then we assess whether that person can perform the activity as per the defined SOPs is your competency assessment. This could be direct observation, record review, reports, reported errors, or customer feedback, as I told earlier. What are the methods? Again, same. Okay. So based upon the documented competencies. For each competency a person is developing, we need to have a record for each and every training and each and every competency that particular staff has obtained or gained. Then, based upon those competencies, specific authorizations are given for those tasks. The person gained competencies for 10 tasks. You are giving authorization for 6 tasks, 7 tasks. Labs decision. Authorization is given for your job description, for your documented scope. If you are a senior technician, you might have a different job description. If you have a junior technician, you might have a different job description. If you are an assistant consultant, you have a different job description. If you are a senior consultant, you have a different job description. Authorizations have to be periodically reviewed specifically as a part of reassessments of your competencies. What all documentation should you maintain? Important. Everyone says, what document should I do? How much document should I do? What all is important? So I'm talking about the minimum documentation that would be required for you to ensure competencies in your lab and you don't get NCs in your accreditation. Checklist. What checklist? You need to have a job description checklist. What are the duties which are assigned to each position? Job description of a technician, job description of a senior technician, job description of assistant consultant, job description of a quality manager, job description of a senior consultant, job description of a lab director, each and every job description. Now, each job description will have the list of activities that person, that position is supposed to perform. So for each of those descriptions, each of those tasks is related to the qualification. You need to have that qualification to be authorized to perform that activity. You need to be given training for each and every activity which you are supposed to perform. You need to be assessed for the competency for each and activity you are supposed to be assigned, and record of each and every training and record of each and every competency. That means if you are going to be assigned to perform 10 activities, there would be records of 10 different competencies. If you are going to be in a microbiology, supposing you are doing a lot of manual testing, so for each examination method, you need to be given a specific competency record. Okay, found to be competent for method A, found to be competent for method B, found to be competent for method C, found to be competent for method D. And then, based upon your competencies, you are given authorization. Authorizations could be for a month, could be for a week, could be for 6 months. Authorizations could be revoked based upon your duty rotation. And then you need to have a record of your reassessment. Most common reassessments are not recorded. Reassessment records are not maintained. Reassessments are not done that meticulously as other assessments are conducted. Couple of metrics which you need to maintain on a paper, on your Excel sheet, which will include knowledge metrics, knowledge versus each person and respective knowledge, skill metrics, each person versus skill, competency metrics, each person versus respective competencies, authorization metrics. These metrics will quickly help you understand, you plan your trainings, plan your competencies, plan your continuous development, plan for your recompetency assessment. These metrics will help you monitor the competencies as per the requirements of the standard. Common pitfalls, very commonly, which happens, which is commonly observed, which you should take care. You gave a SOP to the person to read. That doesn't mean the person understood how to perform an activity. So do not assume that the person has read the SOP means that the person has understood the SOP. Training was given 2 years back. In year back, no retraining. In the internal audit, you found NCs. From the NCs, you found that the person was not competent. On the competency, you found the person was not retrained, but retraining was never done. Missing authorizations. Very commonly missed out. Oh, the person is competent, so the person is allowed to do. No, you need to have a specific record for authorization based upon the competency. This is an easier document to maintain. Generic assessment, same competency checklist, same competency assessment is a person who's a senior technician will never go to phlebotomy but has been assessed for phlebotomy. Irrelevant. The phlebotomist will never be running a QC but has been found to be assessed for running a QC. Irrelevant. A junior consultant, a doctor, has been assessed to reconstitute QC. The person will, that's not the job description. So why are you doing it? So irrelevant competencies assessment should be avoided. Common NCs, be aware, incomplete records, competencies assessment for each and every task. Ensure you have a competency assessment for each and every task. I'm going to come, I'm an assessor, I'm going to come one lab staff, I'm going to ask, okay, what are the activities you perform? The staff says, yeah, I run QC, I reconstitute QC. Okay, fine. Show me the competency assessment file where the person has been found to be competent to run QC. Then competency was given, but authorization record is not there. Very common, though it is easier to maintain. No reassessments. I was found to be competent 2 years back, and I continue to be competent. No one has reassessed my competency. You do an internal audit, you find there is a NC. We found a NC, but that did not lead to training and reassessment. Very common NC. Another common SOP, NC, you had updated your SOP. So once you update your SOP, obviously that requires a change. And then thereafter updating, there is no training. And once you give a train, then you again need to reassess that person for revised SOP. And then the good practices, the key to skills is you prepare your annual plans. Difficult, but you need to prepare your annual training calendar, annual reassessment plan based upon the risk in the activities. Ensure to prepare your competency metrics and ensure a good habit, a risk management, which is very important. Ensure you do reassessments based upon the risk, your annual plans based upon the risk, your reassessments based upon the risk. That is very important because everything moves around a risk in the new 22 version. So your risk assessment should we should be able to you should be able to demonstrate your training plans and reassessments based upon the risk in the activities you form your risk assessment exercise. So that ends the session. Open for discussion. Any questions, please? Anyone? Any questions? Thank you for the session. Can you please explain a little bit more about authorization documentation? So, son, it's like there is a senior technician. Obviously, we expect that the person will have multiple competencies. Now, that person might not be dedicated or committed to one department. You might be rotating that person. Today, I am assigned in microbiology. After 3 months, I might be assigned to biochemistry. I continue to possess my authorization competency. I'm continue to demonstrate my competencies. I am an asset to the organization because I possess multiple competencies. But because from 1st February, I am going to be assigned to biochemistry from existing microbiology. That means you would be withdrawing my authorizations for biochemistry and from microbiology and saying from 1st February, I am going to be working in the biochemistry area. So A, B, C, D are my authorizations and authorizations to work in the microbiology are withdrawn. Nothing, just a simple documentation. It's like a duty roster. When you give a duty roster, you give authorization to work in that area and operate that equipment. That's a very simple thing. So whatever duties you are going to assign to me for the February, those are the authorizations. So in February, I am authorized to perform from this activity. In March, I'm going to authorize for these activities. But when you give me those authorizations, They
Thank
have to be based upon my competency record. Right, Susan? Susan?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So what else is the question? I'm a little slow to read on the chat. Okay, who should be given the induction training when a person who should be giving the induction training? Okay, see, the first induction training has to be given by the head of the organization you welcome. Then you assign your respective experts. You see, you need to select your master trainers. Induction training in terms of safety could be given to the quality manager. In terms of the organizational policies, if you have a HR, then you can give it to the HR. In terms of safety, you could have another senior person or a doctor who's assigned, or there could be a senior most technician who is very good in, who has been trained and made master training within your lab because of the competencies of that person. So that person can be assigned to perform parts of the induction training. That depending upon the size of the lab and the number of people, if there are more people, induction training can be split up into many people. If you are a very small lab, very few people, then the induction training will be limited to one or two people who would be giving the induction training. But be ensure whatever induction training you're giving, have a proper checklist of which all trainings you want to give as a part of induction training. Okay. What's the qualification and experience for authorized signatory? I would not like to answer this question. This is specific to the respective accreditation body. You need to check with your respective accreditation bodies to who is authorized. Who will assess the lab director? That's an excellent question. Uh, who's that? Santana. See, I am the business owner. I am a business owner. I am a non-medico. I have a dream to run a lab as per 15189. I need to hire a person who will work as a lab director because I'm a non-medico. I need a person who can run my lab and get me 15189. So what will I do? I would hire external experts, go do a web survey, find senior people, gather a list of two or three people who are very senior and request them to help me identify the short. I will call for the resumes. I got 20 resumes and they will help me identify a person because I'm a non-medico. So I will hire competent people, trained people, learned people to help me select my lab director. Great, great, great. Someone is asking that question. Usually people don't question the competencies of lab director. I'm happy. Is the quality manager responsible for assessing and keeping records of the competencies? It's your lab, it's your decision. You can there is no hard and fast formula that only quality manager will be do it. Decision of the lab. If you think your quality manager is competent to assess competencies, fine. Your quality manager might be assessing competencies of a few, and lab director may be assessing couple of competencies, senior consultants another set of competencies, junior consultant another set of competencies, quality manager another set of competencies, senior technicians could be also authorized to assess other set of competencies depending upon their qualification and expertise. Any model format for competency assessment checklist for a lab director? Okay, great. So what I'll suggest is those who have a questions on the lab director, if you could go back to the 15189 2012 version that listed a lot of activities that had a detail of around 14, 15 descriptions, the requirements of a lab director. So if you want to really understand, think yourself as an investor in a business and you want to hire a person who can get you a lab 15189, you would get all the answers in 1 hour. Just think that you are a non-medical owner. How do you find a lab director? Any format for assessment? Very simple. You pick up your SOP, prepare the key points. Like you prepare a checklist for 15189, you need to prepare a checklist for competency assessment for each of your SOP. Same manner. Who will check the competency of the lab head? My God, the lab heads are going to be in a big problem. Your lab, you're the boss. You need to find out who will continue. Ultimately, I am the business owner. I've given me my target to my lab director. Get me 15189 in 1 year or I'll fire you. So if your lab director cannot get you 15189, if your lab director cannot direct the team to achieve the requirements of 15189, that will be an answer. Is it okay for the signing authority in MSc Biochemistry? I'm skipping those questions. Ask your accreditation bodies and the rules of the state will apply. Risk assessment competency documentation is for all staffs. It's for lab director, quality manager, in charges, and authorized signatory. Yes. Regarding authorized signatory, no, sir, I just wonder how to know about QAI accreditation requirement. Great. Manish ji, can you put on the email ID of your email ID? So you could always write to QAI and they are very happy to help you and understand and provide you more details. I think you have the phone number
I
of
just
Manish ji.
want to interrupt you. After that, we have QA accreditation slides. So
Okay.
whatever the query related to the QA accreditation process will be listed during.
Great. So he's going to give you a detailed 3-4 minutes of more answering that. Dr. Sumidha Tiwari says, when making job description, do we need to mention all those related to authorization, LIS, method verification, reporting of results? Yes, yes, very important. This is where something gets missed out. Why are you going to hire me? What is the purpose of hiring me? If you've hired me, what are the activities you're going to assign me? Initially, there is a plan. Yes, there is a person to person variation. You hired four people. Someone might be quickly able to develop competencies or may have more capabilities. You could change, add, modify the job description. But unless you tell me what my duties are, things are not going to move. I should be very clear what is expected from me when I come in the morning shift, let's say from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. What is expected from me? What all activities I am going to perform? So A, B, C, D, there are four employees in your lab. We need to be very clear in terms of the job description who is assigned to be performed which activity. Now, whatever activities are assigned to me, I need to be ensured to be competent and authorized to perform those activities. Dr. Sumida, do I answer your question? Dr. Sumita, this important question.
Mm.
Anything you more
Yes,
want?
sir.
Okay,
Yes,
do
sir.
I?
Yes, sir. I'm clear now. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, any more questions, please? So, except for your qualifications, I think I've answered all the questions. Anyone wants to ask? Any other question? Risk assessment competency documentation. Priyankar, what do you want to specifically ask? Okay, there is another question. Okay. Okay, so you have an answer on the signatory. So it's very clear. Authorized signatory, the qualifications could be specified by your accreditation body, could be specified under Clinical Establishment Act, could be specified by the respective state, could be specified by the respective country. So the laws applicable to the land overrule any such requirements of the accreditation body. Ultimately, the laws applicable to your state, to your institution shall apply. If that's not specified, your accreditation body might specify. If that's not specified, you are lucky to have a leverage, but ultimately, you will have to, if it goes legally, you will have to demonstrate the competency of your person that whomsoever you had assigned to perform activity was competent. Yes, any more questions?
Yeah, sir, regarding the risk assessment,
So do we need to document risk assessment for all the staffs, including phlebotomists and technicians?
Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely. And you need to maintain your reassessment metrics also. How do you know who has been assessed for what and who has been missed out? And your reassessments will supposing I am a assessor and I see a beautiful and a judiciously done reassessment activity and a matrix maintained, I gain so much of confidence in your lab. And that is how you, like I showed you the slide, once you give a person a competence, the person is likely to get into overconfidence. The person might think, oh no, these activities not important, let me do it in a different manner. Happens, we are all human beings. Okay, so reassessments will help the lab re-bring the person back to the track and ensure that the things happen as per SOPs. If you think activity is to be performed in a different manner, you might choose to modify your SOP. But if your SOP says so, the things have to be worked as per definition. Priyankar, you had raised a hand. You have specific question? Priyankar?
Yeah, no, sir, because I have
Okay.
given the thumbs up for answering because I got the answer.
Oh, can you please, most welcome. You could say something.
No, it's clear. It's clear for me.
Great, great, great. Yes. Any more questions? Any participant? Most welcome. I can see something in the chat. Just a minute. Let me open the chat. Okay. Sir, how frequently should reassessment to be done? Ankita, your reassessments have to be based upon the risk of possibility of deviation, risk in the criticality of the output, risk in the complexity of the task. The more complex the task, more frequently reassessment to be done. The more risky is the activity, the more frequently reassessment to be done. The lesser is the risk in that activity and less complex is that activity to be performed, simpler that activity is to be performed, the more time gap you could give in reassessing that activity. So the higher the risk in performing that activity in terms of the complexity of the task and the output, the more frequent could be your reassessment. Further, if you see during your internal audits or your NCs, if you find certain activities are having a lot of NCs or a lot of problems, and then you see, okay, that is a particular one activity which is becoming very complex, then you might decide to reassess that more frequently. Do I answer? Okay, so good evening, Binita. Binita certificate, Manish will tell you. Roshni, if someone has found incompetent and we did not have an immediate replacement, what should be done? Excellent, excellent, Roshni. If you find someone incompetent and you do not have an alternative, you should not perform, you should stop to perform that activity. As 15189 says, the lab shall have adequate trained and competent people to perform that activity. If you do not have a competency to perform that activity correctly, let's not play with the life of the patient. Let's not perform that activity. Roshni, do I answer your question? Yes, Roshni. Great, Roshni. Manishi, I think I need to hand over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
now I request Ms. Geeta to please go ahead with your accreditation process.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, is my screen is visible?
Yes, Geeta.
Okay, so let's begin with the accreditation process. So who can apply? So a medical laboratory implementing the requirements of ISO 15189 is eligible to apply under QI accreditation program for medical laboratories. Eligibility for QI accreditation. First, the applicant CAB must comply with all clauses of ISO 15189-2022. The applicant CAB must have participated satisfactorily in the proficiency testing program, that is PT, wherever applicable, conducted by QAI, CPT, APEC, or any other national or international accredited recognized PT providers. In case if there is no suitable PTP is available, the CAB can initiate an inter-laboratory comparison (ILC) with adequate number of accredited laboratories or engage into other types of internal quality control checks. The minimum stipulated participation for CAB is one parameter type of test. The calibration per discipline prior to grant of accreditation and covers its scope and phase manner. The applicant CAB must have conducted at least one internal audit and a management review before the submission of application. Now, the application for accreditation. Applicant CAB is requested to submit the following documents. First, the soft copy of completed application form that is available on our website. Along with that, soft copy of self-assessment cum management system documentation review toolkit, along with the reference documents. Soft copy of quality manual management system documentation, prescribed application fee, and soft copy of signed QA-CIA 002 terms and condition for maintaining QA-CIA accreditation. And all the above information shall be sent to the given email ID, that is info@qi.org.in. All communication will be done to the mail only. Then this is our scope of accreditation. Accreditation is currently given in the following categories. As you can see, clinical biochemistry, clinical pathology, hematology, some of the examples are there. Now this is our accreditation process. First, you have to submit the application along with the self-assessment cum management system documentation review toolkit plus terms and condition. And then second step is review, registration, and acknowledgement of application. This is to be done by the QACI Secretariat. Then document review and quality management system adequacy by lead assessor. Then pre-assessment. This is completely optional by lead assessor and assessment team. Then the final assessment. This is to be done by the assessment team. Review of assessment report by QACI Secretariat. Then feedback to laboratory and necessary corrective action taken by the laboratory. Then recommendation for accreditation. This is to be done by the panel of reviewers. Approval for accreditation to be done by the CEO. Then issue of accreditation certificate by QACI Secretariat. Again, you have to apply for the renewal of your accreditation 4 months before expiry of accreditation. Now the fee structure based on the World Bank income level classification of countries, and also it is based on the type of the laboratory, such as very small, small, medium, large, and very large laboratories. And for the detailed fee structure, you can mail us to info@qi.org.in. So that's all about the QI accreditation process. If you have any question and answers, you can just ask over here, or you can mail us to info@qi.org.in. And please visit our website at www.qi.org.in. Thank you, Manisa.
Thank you, Ms. Geeta, for briefing QA accreditation process. So if you people have any querying doubts related to the QA accreditation process, you are feel free to ask. And we also have one group photograph. I request everyone to please switch on the camera. So we can have one group photograph. Okay, so ready? Please smile. Participated and who got the answers. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ravinder sir. Yes.
Thank you.
For your wonderful session, and thanks for the participant. So if you people have any querying doubts, you must still ask, otherwise you may close the session.
Level 48. But the thing was, also, उसमें word